firmly convinced the timing is right. And Peter, followed what you've been doing at Poseidon. You're a very methodical guy. You know what stuff needs to be done. You've got a history of getting it done, and you're just going tick, 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 and getting through them. So personally, I'm optimistic. I will, for a moment, turn back time and talk about Poseidon, going back to the original Poseidon. There may be people around that recall what happened back in 1969. Some of our viewers don't know much about that at all. But Poseidon is almost a mythical name in mining. Do you sometimes, and just again to inform our viewers, it was a stock that traded back in 1969 up towards around the 80 cents a mark, and then eventually it went ballistic to around about $286. Then it crashed in early 69, and again it was all to do with the nickel price. Historic times, and we even did a locally made movie called The Nickel Queen,
yep.
which my parents forced me to watch, which was hilarious because I had the Golden Tonsils. John Laws did a cameo as some sort of hippie dude at the races.
Yes.
Hilarious stuff.
Hilarious. Yeah, I've watched it a few times. It's on YouTube. I've watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, God. And so, do you ever sort of every now and then sort of kick yourself or pat yourself on the head or whatever and say, this is Poseidon?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's interesting you raise it, and something that's always fascinated me because I do like history of mining. I've read a lot of books about that, and there's been a lot written about it. It's interesting because it was Poseidon NL, and it came out of his Adelaide-based company, and it discovered obviously Windara, which was the scene of that, and obviously a much less number of shares on issue. Yeah. So as a result, the share price was able to go up as high as it did, and lots of my parents' friends, my wife's parents' friends, who are all in their sort of 80s now, had no people that never worked again. Bought Poseidon shares and made incredible wealth. Obviously people lost money too. We occasionally get phone calls from people, often from Adelaide, saying, I've got these share certificates and is that the same company? We say, well, actually no, that company went into administration in 1970, I think it was. And no, it's not. But hang on to those because the actual certificate's probably worth something. We've got a couple in our office that we've been given, and an incredible story, and just shows you. And today, the modern Poseidon is probably Chalice at the moment with the discovery out here, at Julimar. I mean, something that was. I mean, I went to the AMAC Awards last week, and that was a discovery that the guys made. I think they pegged the ground, cost them $50,000 to peg it, right? Yeah. And it's what less than 100 k's from, it's 80 k's from the CBD, and no one had ever thought.
No one thought there'd be anything there.
There's a company that's got a market cap today of, I don't know, what is it, 3 billion or something like that. Yeah. So that's the modern day.
Thanks, Peter. I had some shares. Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, when I was at Panoramic, we had shares in Chalice 2 cents. I think we sold them at 5. So because we did a joint venture with them on a project over here when a guy called Andrew Bantock was running it back in the day. So but I mean that's the incredible wealth that can be created, and not just wealth but just opportunities. I mean, assuming that Julimar gets developed, I mean that'll be 400, 500, 600 people will be working there. You imagine the sort of the dollars that'll bring into Bindoon and 2J and fantastic, and royalties for the state, and billions
tremendous
of dollars
for the state.
So shareholders will do well, but I think in mining they reckon that for every employee that you employ, it's a 1.8 times. So there's nearly 2 employees that are the knock-on effect. So if they're going to employ 600 people, that means there'll be over 2,000 people. So nearly 3,000 jobs created from that one project. I mean, it's phenomenal. So I really hope that Alex and the team, because it's a wonderful discovery, and I really hope that they can get that project built and operating. And they'll do it, even though it's in a forest and everything else. They'll do that incredibly, environmentally well, and that'll be a good development. But that's what I love about. So going back to the 1969 Poseidon, I really hope that we can emulate that with not just restarting, because that's important, but also further discoveries. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we found another Silver Swan, or another Emily Ann, or another Mount Windara? That would add such massive increase in shareholder value
Yeah, look, it would, Peter, and with the drilling programs that you've started, and I know you've got in mind, and you've got to be hopeful.
Well, you've got to keep drilling, right? And the problem is we've been up because cash has been tight. We've been up and down, and when we wanted to drill our Golden Swan, we had to spend $5 million in the decline just to get there, because that was cheaper than drilling from surface or from underground and quicker. So they're not insignificant amounts of money you've got to invest. But ideally, when we get assuming we get Black Swan going, then obviously when we have cash coming in, we can start to divert that not only to looking for more, but it would be great to have a rig going, an underground rig going all the time, a surface rig going there, one at Lake Johnson and one at Windara. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And not having to tap shareholders on the head all the time for